Hello, I guess I'm on. Welcome back. Um, Tonight I will do some storytelling about my lineage. I think it came up in a live when I was doing my doodling, and some people were kind of interested. So I'm wearing a shirt that says "Folio Reunion," and if you see the gentleman on the shirt, that's my great 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 grandfather Francois Beaulieu II, and he was the first Métis man in the Northwest Territories. Um, his mother was half Chippewan and half Cree, and his father was right from France. And his father came up here with the fur trade. And yeah, so Francois had a son, Pierre, and Pierre had a son. How does it go now? Had a son, Louison. Louison Beaulieu was Wolf Clan, and Louison had a daughter, Delphine, and I look like my granny Delphine, and it's really eerie. Maybe I should find the photo and show the photo, because it looks like I'm a time traveler. It's really, really neat. Um, and God knows where that picture is on my phone. Geez, I should have got organized a little bit better, but oh well. I'll get better as time goes along, I guess, with these lives. Uh, it sounds like I'm saying lives, um, lives, going live. Uh, yeah, bear with me. Just trying to find a photo of my grandmother. Yeah, so the Métis history in the Northwest Territories um, is a distinct uh, group of Métis. Um, Although my grandmother's first cousin was Saint Germain from Saskatchewan and Manitoba areas. So her family, well, she was nomadic until she was 5. Her family would go from northern Saskatchewan up the Great Slave, oh no, up the Slave River to the Great Slave Lake to fish in the summer and pick berries. And then they would come back down in the fall and make their way back to northern Saskatchewan to hunt the caribou in the winter. So she talked about the that craving and the pull of when you're eating caribou all winter, you're craving to eat some fish and berries. And then when you're so sick of eating fish all summer, you can't wait till you go down and eat some caribou in the winter. So she talked about that feeling inside where, it's time to move. We got to go and got to go eat something else, you know. So that was a neat story to hear her tell. Um, Hopefully I find that photograph soon, because it's kind of hard for me to multitask. But I guess the more I do it, the easier it'll get. I'm hoping. um, so yeah, so that's my granny, and oh, there it is. So I hope you can see. That's my grandmother. Isn't that freaky? She looks a lot like me. It's weird. I'll show this again here. And I'll kind of, how do I do this? Ah, oh, there. So yeah, it's like I'm a time traveler. It's weird. When I first saw this photo, I was a little freaked out because she looks so much like me. And this is her father, Louison, and Louison Bolio, and then I'll tell the story of Francois here. Um, so he was the first Métis man born in the Northwest Territories, and because he walked 1 foot in the Western world of the colonizers and 1 foot in the traditional indigenous culture, I guess. He became a powerful leader, and he controlled all the trapping right from Lac La Biche, Alberta, all the way up to the Arctic Ocean, up the Mackenzie River. And he married into families all along the route. And he looked after all those families. And it was as if he was a king because all that land and all the resources belonged to him and his families, right? And he had up to 9 wives. And yeah, he was also a powerful medicine man, they say, and um, he was brutal. Apparently, if people don't listen, there's one story where all he had to do was pull out his knife and start sharpening his knife, and the guys, fell in line and started doing what he asked them to do. Oh my God. Yeah. Uh, he was the law. He was the peacemaker. He kept everyone in line. And like I said, he controlled the fur trade. And Hudson Bay and the Northwest Company eventually, hired him and kind of corralled him in. And so he settled down he established his own settlement out at Salt River. That's about 20 minutes north of here. And he had oxen, he had gardens. And then when he was getting older and not the big bully that he was in his younger years, he settled down and just did farming. But in his younger years, he would constantly go up and down the Mackenzie because he had to look after his families. He had to do the trading. So he would collect salt here at the salt plains and bring it all along the route as a trade commodity all the way up to the Arctic Ocean. And in his journeys, he would be helping out the colonizers that were trying to go through the Northwest Passage in those big boats, those ships from England, like the Franklin expedition and stuff like that. He guided, and I don't know, I'm losing my train of thought now. But anyway, oh yeah, he settled down in Salt River, and it's called Thabacha or Thabacha. And eventually the Catholic Church moved here, and he was really curious about the father, the priest, because he would see him kneeling down and doing all these rituals and whatnot and praying, and so he was really curious about what was going on there. And he asked the priests to teach him what this religion was all about. And so he was learning, and of course, that was the number one tool for colonization. So they eventually talked him uh, into not keeping all his wives. So he he didn't keep them all anymore. He only had two. He kept two. And he also took in a lot of foster children. So there's a lot of bolios, but not all of them are blood related to our family. But uh, yeah, so anyway. And Fort Resolution has a lot of the bolio lineage, and that's about 3.5 hours away from here. And it's where the Slave River connects to the Great Slave Lake. And so my grandmother and all her siblings kind of grew up there. And yeah, she had a lot of siblings. And in our culture, the aunties and the uncles to your children, well, the aunties and uncles will have their own families, like their own kids. So your first cousin would, be treated as your sibling. So really close knit communities that way, and families. When you consider your first cousin's siblings, yeah. And I was speaking about that with someone the other day, and it's very, I don't know, the connections are tight, the community connections. And I guess back then you needed that contact and that community to stay strong and be resilient and be able to survive. You need uh, to be kind and generous with each other so that you could go through a hard time, you know. And yeah, so that's my grandmother's um, lineage following the patriarchs. My grandmother's mother was from Fort Vermilion, Alberta, and she was a Dunois, so she's very French, and that's the lineage that connects her to the Saint Germains. And there was a famous Saint Germain that used to be on CBC TV, a musician, of course. And she that was her first cousin. I forget what his name was now. I was just a small child when he was famous. Um, and my grandmother, oh my God, there's stories about how good she was able to jig, and that's a dance, jigging, and so was her sister Dora, and she played any instrument that she could pick up. She played the spoons, she played the fiddle, she played accordion, organ, piano, guitar, harmonica. Yeah, she's very musical. And so are, you know, all the relatives. Like our family just has that musical gene. Um, yeah. And then my mother's father, um, his father was right from Bristol, England. And he was a world traveler. He was, in Australia, he was in South America, in the Amazon, got malaria, lost all his hair from being so sick with malaria. And then he heard about the gold rush up in the Yukon. So he was making his way up there from down south. Oh yeah, and he also was very educated. He had a lot of real estate downtown London, England, and he lost all that when he was exploring here in Canada. We would be millionaires right now if he didn't lose those properties. But anyway, he was on his way to the Yukon for the gold rush, and they made it as far as Fort Smith. And I guess there were five uh, men in his group. And by the time they got to Fort Smith, it was such hard going because all the muskeg and, they're pulling along a big, heavy iron safe to put their gold in when they got gold. So can you imagine going through muskeg carrying a 500-pound iron chest? Crazy. So anyway, by the time they got to Fort Smith, the leader of the group said, "This is enough," and painted the ceiling, as a friend of mine would say. And so my great grandfather, Harry Jones, um, because he was so well educated, he was a botanist and a naturalist and a photographer. He had a deal with the Smithsonian in the USA, and he would send them bird specimens, plant specimens, glass slides of all the photographs, and he was like pretty much cataloging all the flora and fauna along the way. And also, not only the natural world, but the humans too. He'd be photographing the groups of people that he met, and the costumes they wore. Well, not costumes. um, the the moose hide, caribou hide clothing, and all that stuff. And so he traveled up the Mackenzie and went all the way up to the Arctic and came back, came all the way back down and fell in love with a Nahanni Valley slavey woman, Charlotte Sarcelle. And they had children and settled down in Fort Resolution. So that's my grandfather's parents, my mother's father, and he was also well educated. He was sent to university because he was the oldest, Eddie Jones, my grandma's husband. And because he was the oldest, they invested in him to go to school. And um, while he was down south going to school, my grandmother ended up falling in love with his little brother, his little brother Henry Jr. And as soon as my grandfather found out that, they're engaged and they're going to get married, he left school, flew back, and the story is he ran into her bedroom and now they had to get married. Back in the day, you kissed a girl, you better get married now. So he pretty much stole Granny from his little brother. And so his little brother and him never got along. Since that, since that happened, they didn't get along. They stopped talking to each other and whatnot. And the reason why Grandpa did that was because my grandma is the matriarch of the Beaulieu lineage. So Francois Beaulieu II was, they pretty much called him the king of the land, right? And to this day, there are families that are called King or King Beaulieu because of that. And yeah, all related to Francois. And so because Grandma was the oldest of Louison's family, my grandfather had to marry her because he was the oldest of his family. So I think it was a prearranged marriage. And, back in the day, you had to do what you had to do to survive. So, and Granny said she hated him. She just hated him. And she told me a story that was the catalyst to soften her heart towards him. She said she had a dream and it was cold and dark. And she was traveling by dog team. And she was going to Snowdrift, now called Pluto Cay. And she looked down in the dog sled, and there was my grandfather's dead body. And she was bringing him back to Pluto Cay or Snowdrift. And she said that dream freaked her out so much that she pretty much forced herself never to dream again. And after that, I think that's when she kind of felt some love toward Grandpa, and they were married for over 50 years. Prime Minister Pierre Elliott Trudeau gave them a letter and congratulate them on their 50th anniversary. And I was at their 50th anniversary here in town at the Roaring Rapids. And because their anniversary is December 26th, and I was born December 26th, and my father, who moved here from Germany when he was 19, was born December 26th. So there's, you know, a special, um, I don't know what to call it, but it was a big celebration. I remember the anniversary, and I can remember my auntie. Well, we call her Auntie Lucy, but just a very close family friend. And she sang a beautiful French song, and I could still remember it. And when I hear it, if I hear someone singing it, I just start crying right away because it just brings me right back to that celebration. And my aunt, oh my gosh, how long ago? Two years ago, 3 years ago, sent me a package, and I opened it up, and it had two tablecloths from my grandparents' wedding day. So those tablecloths are over 100 years old. And she gave them to me. And now I'm just realizing she gave them to me because their anniversary date is my birthday. And I'm so honored. Thank you, Auntie. Thank you so much. I'm I I'm so honored to be the one to carry that bundle with me. And yeah, uh, there's a big group of us now that are born December 26th. There's a friend of ours, Dempsey, Brandy, um, Shane. Oh God, now I'm blanking out. I don't know. There's a whole bunch. Jeremiah, um, Suze. Uh, yeah, a whole bunch of us here in Fort Smith born on that day. And of course, me and Dad. So me and Dad always were very close. I was my dad's son. He never had a son with my mom. They had three kids and all girls. So I was the tomboy, and yeah. But he has a second family and um, had two kids with Sandra, and both of them are boys. So I have two little brothers. Oh, my daughter's texting me. Her propane stopped working. It's like minus 30, 35 tonight. And the propane, when it gets cold, it turns into liquid. So they had to put a heating blanket around the propane tank so that their propane furnace would run. But luckily, they have a wood stove, so they didn't freeze to death. um, I'll just let her know I'm on live right now because she keeps trying to go in my lives. I think she caught the last live, uh, but I didn't see her chatting. I wasn't looking at the screen, I guess. I was just, doing my thing and didn't look at the screen at all. So I guess she was chatting and I missed it. So, um, okay, she's busy with her furnace, so she can't go on the live. But I don't see anybody chiming in. There's zero people watching. No one liked the live either. No one said anything in the chat. Maybe I'll say hi. Okay, I said, don't be shy. Drop a line or two, and I'll put a little happy face or maybe a hand, a waving hand. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So, where was I? Oh yeah, my granny and anniversary and the birthdays all on December 26th. And then, oh my God, it's just so crazy. My husband and I, or my ex-husband and I, were divorced now. I got my certificate. I'm a certified divorcee. Woohoo! So anyway, we dated since I was 16, and I think when we were 18, that's when we broke up. Yeah, when we were 18, he went his way, I went my way, and he got married and had a son. And I just, I didn't get married. I had, when I met him, I already had a son. And when we broke up, I went to college and ended up having a daughter from a relationship in college. And then uh, after I graduated, I worked for the museum in Yellowknife for about 3 years, well, 2.5 years. And during that time, we got back together and decided to get married. So I moved to Calgary and we got married, and then blended families because he had his son and I had my son and my daughter, Jessie. And when we got back to, when we came back together, we're on the phone talking, and I was like, yeah, my daughter, she was born May 26th, and he was like, no way. He's like, my son was born May 26th. So Kenneth and, oh, I guess, should I be saying names? I don't know. Anyway, um, my, yeah, my daughter and his son born on the same day, May 26th. And yeah, it's crazy. And my sister is born November 26th. And when I was single, at the 7-year mark, my husband and I broke up again. I guess we have well, I won't get into the details. But anyway, we split up and I was dating someone, and the guy I was dating, he was born November 26th. So my sister and my boyfriend, November 26th, me and my dad, December 26th, and our two children who had different mothers and fathers were born May 26th. So I don't know what that means. I don't know numerology and uh, the, what do you call that? The zodiac and stuff like that. I don't know that very well. So I'll have to figure out what all of that means, because, male, female, me, my dad, male, female, my daughter and stepson, male, female, my boyfriend and my sister. Just weird stuff, eh? And Yeah. So I don't see anyone in the chat, and I don't see anyone joining. So weird. I guess if I was on more consistently, like every day, I would build up a community, and then people would look to see if I was on, I guess. But you would think people scrolling at least would come in and spam 6, 7 or something. But I know that my family and friends look at the recorded lives and watch that way. So, um, did I did I cover everything I wanted to cover? I think so. I think so. Yeah. See, if I had people on the chat, they could ask me a question. Oh, my nose is stuffy. And then, we could bounce off of each other, and uh, the storytelling would be a little bit more interesting. I saw that someone was peeping in, but they did not leave a like and they did not drop a line. So I don't know. Uh, I guess that's it. I'm done my story and I'm sticking to it. So love and light. And um, how do you do that? Make it red with my shirt. Um, so I'm kind of backward. Okay. Love and light, and stay in the light, everybody. Mwah. Oh, yeah. End stream.